We have seen in places like Athi River, they include ICT, they include handicrafts, they include our agricultural produce, including coffee. And so, Mr. Speaker, this country reviewing their AGOA agreement 20 years on, we can only count the benefits, Mr. Speaker. It is quite sad that we are debating this 6 days to the deadline, saying that there shall be a remedy that shall come in to extend these by 15 years. And if that is not possible, then, Mr. Speaker, the ask here is for an extension of 2 years. And, Mr. Speaker, why this afternoon becomes so important is because as we speak today, the head of state is actually in the US. And my prayer is that as Parliament is debating these on the floor of the House this afternoon, that the government, led by no less than the head of state, shall be engaging AGOA, because as we have been told, Mr. Speaker, we stand a great risk of losing so many jobs, around 66,000 jobs directly, and more than 500,000 jobs indirectly that have been offered by this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, as I said, Kenya and the US have a long-standing, great relationship. We have had great diplomacy between us, and it was even fortified by this trade diplomacy. Mr. Speaker, I know you're one of the biggest proponents of decolony, Mr. Speaker, that anybody who wants to be a friend of Africa today, anybody who wants to assist Africa today, Africa does not require aid. Africa does not need the help that we have traditionally got from the West. The best way to be a friend of Africa, the best way to be a friend of Kenya is to support us with mutually beneficial endeavors. And trade is one such. When we look at AGOA 15 years down the line, 25 years down the line, Mr. Speaker, we see benefits that are accruing on both sides. Kenya benefits from direct jobs created. We benefit from a good transfer of skills and knowledge. At the same time, America stands to benefit in a great way. We know that trade balance dictates that you are not over-reliant on one supplier. And the United States, that has had an over-reliance on Asian economies, gets an opportunity with this AGOA to be able to have a competitive trade environment where they can get quality, affordable products from a place like Kenya. And, Mr. Speaker, when you see what is happening in the apparel industry, in the agricultural sector, it is impressive. But in today's world, Mr. Speaker, we are talking about a new world that is driven by technology. And, Mr. Speaker, with AGOA, Kenya stands to benefit greatly from a country that is a leader in technology, knowing what is happening in places like Silicon Valley, where the big tech giants sit, the big tech giants that are coding the code that is running the world today and into the future. We know what data is doing to the world today. We know the power of algorithms in our digital platforms and our social media. So America stands to benefit in the space of ICT. Similarly, Mr. Speaker, the US does stand to benefit in that, as we speak today, big tech companies from America, name them, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, all of them have offices domiciled in Kenya, not only for the benefit of the Kenyan market, but also as an entry point into the East African market and even the African market. And as such, US gains a great advantage on having its companies benefiting from an economy that is a growing economy in the Southern Hemisphere. Mr. Speaker, Kenya has been seeking to stop being a net importer. And AGOA was heaven sent. We must say a big thank you to the government of Kenya and the government of America, because what benefits have been accruing are now showing 25 years on in both economies, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, I do support here by Honorable Ng-Cdf, and I pray that her people in Laikipia are seeing the person that they sent to Parliament Because when you're sent to the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, you're not sent here to be parochial or to be dealing with just matters within your constituency or your village. You should be sent to Parliament with a mind that speaks patriotically, but also has a global outlook on matters and issues. I do stand to support this, and I do stand also to congratulate Honorable Ng-Cdf for such a motion that is so timely. And I do pray, Mr. Speaker, that this Parliament will move government to be able to negotiate well enough for us to get an extension of at least 15 years, Mr. Speaker. And if that is not possible, Mr. Speaker, then there should be a transition, at least 2 years, so that any person involved in this trade, involved in this business, has time to organize for contingent measures that can be taken at the expiry of the AGOA agreement. Mr. Speaker, I do support, and it is in the benefit of Kenya, it is in the benefit of the United States of America, it is in the benefit of their people, their traders, and their businesses, and the good cooperation of these two great countries if we could get an extension of AGOA. Mr. Speaker, I do thank you.
The Honorable Basil, followed by the Honorable Dena. Order, or the Honorable Dena. Basil first.
Yes, thank you, Speaker. I was waiting to contribute to the motion from my sister, Honorable Kagiri. This is a very essential motion, and I would say why I'm saying that. Because if you look at our country today, we're actually grappling with unemployment. And it's through AGOA that we'll be able to generate employment locally in the country. If you look at what is happening globally, at the global space, you find there are quite a number of immigrants who are trying to go to the United States, actually to look for employment. But through AGOA, you'll be able to generate these jobs here. Honorable Kagiri did provide analysis of how jobs are being generated for Kenyans right in the country. We talk of export processing zone that has employed quite a number of Kenyans, and more so women. So that is an opportunity generated by AGOA, and that's why we support the renewal of AGOA, actually to be able to enhance and expand opportunities for Kenyans right here in the country. Mr. Speaker, another very important point is actually foreign exchange. As just Honorable KJ has talked about Kenya being a net importer of most of the goods we use. Through AGOA, we are given an opportunity to enter the US market, to be able to generate foreign exchange, to be able to have a healthy balance of trade. Because when you have more value of exports as opposed to imports, that is a positive balance of trade. And that can only be realized through AGOA, Kenya being, that is for Kenya to continue driving benefits through AGOA, Mr. Speaker. Importantly, Mr. Speaker, we are talking of industrial growth. We are in a world where industrialization is so salient in the modern world. If you look at China and advanced, many of the Asian tigers, they use the same approach to be able to industrialize, where they attracted investors right in their countries. Through AGOA, we are going to be able to attract many investors who are going to come and set base here in Kenya. And it is through that we'll be able to be on the path to industrialization. So that's why I'm saying this is a very important motion, which I stand to support, Mr. Speaker. We have heard about knowledge, technology transfer. Remember, for you to export in the US, there are certain standards. There are certain parameters that have to be met. And the standard, one of it is quality in terms of the product that you produce. And for you to reach that, there is training, capacity building, knowledge transfer from the US to the local Kenyans who will be employed by some of these companies, and the resilience building as we move forward as a nation, Mr. Speaker. Importantly, economic empowerment, because as I've said, most of the people who benefit from this, particularly the SMEs, women in small, medium enterprises who own some of these are a very solid model of economic empowerment when you talk of empowering women to be able to sustain families for current and future generations, Mr. Speaker. Importantly, Kenya has been relying on traditional exports. We talk of tea and coffee. But through AGOA, we have diversified. We talk of textile products. So economic diversification is realized through AGOA. And that's why this is a motion that all members should stand up and support. It's only that is unfortunate, the House looks a bit empty, but I wish many members could be here to be able to come and enjoy the debate, Mr. Speaker. Now, to be able to support my arguments, there are better ways to also promote exports through AGOA. That is, if the contract is extended, and that is what we are advocating for. One of it is to give tax credits to factories that are set in base in Kenya. If you give tax credit, you attract many factories to come and establish their operations right in the country. And this is a model that has been used by the United States back from 1981, when we had the President Ronald Reagan, who was the president then. He used a model of giving tax credit to factories who have now set base in the US. And that's why today everyone wants to go to the US. So we need to do that. Again, we need to support agriculture. I'm happy we have been talking of subsidized agriculture. I mean subsidized fertilizers to promote agriculture and to promote production. Remember, agriculture has been the backbone of this country. And most of what we are talking in AGOA products, they're agriculture-based products. So if we promote agriculture by appropriating budget properly to be able to support production in terms of raw materials, then we'll be on the right path to make sure AGOA indeed works for the country. Importantly, we need to lower the cost of electricity, because doing business in Kenya is a bit expensive because there's taxes in the electricity grid. If we reduce cost of taxes in electricity, we'll be able to ensure many foreign companies that come to Kenya find it easy to do business in Kenya. We also need to minimize bureaucracies in certain companies so as to be able to ensure there is a proper win for companies to come and set operations here and promote the partnership through AGOA. And that is the better way to thrive more as a country through AGOA partnership. And then lastly, Mr. Speaker, we need to base our arguments by showcasing how Kenya has benefited in the previous years, from 2000 to now. We are talking of 25 years. And that will give us a solid platform to be able to advocate why the United States should actually renew this contract and allow our country to continue partnering with it. With those few remarks, I allow myself to support the motion, and I'm happy for the future policy making or any legislation that will be done. I'm happy to support my sister in that. Thank you so much.
Honorable Dana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this motion, and I think, in my opinion, it's even too late, and it has come too late. One of the factors is we have to know the genesis of the AGOA, why it was started. It was about mostly the African continent, and by now 32 countries were approved, and with that it has already brought about 60,000 employment, and mostly women. When you do 60,000 times about 100 families, that's, you're talking about 600,000. In particularly for me, I talk about the cost. If AGOA has already changed cities, if you look, I think Honorable Mwinyi is here, you look at Changamwe, the population of the textile industries there, like 3,000 voters. It is enough people to make somebody an MCA. Technology exchange in terms of defense. We are seeing in all other countries. These days, people don't go to war. It is technology. It's all AI. The world is going there, and I think that's a very important part now. Two, it's about, I want to raise a point to my brothers here. We should notice that all the balls in the World Cup were made here. Half were made in Kitengela, half were made in Meritini and Changamwe. That made the balance of payment to increase. That is, when we look at when we had the COVID and now, there's a company in Mtwapa which has signed an agreement for the production of incubators for the American, which is worth about 7 billion. Right now, we are producing syringes also in Mtwapa on the same terms of AGOA because of the market of the American market. 3, I will want to emphasize on the issue of jobs. If we lose these jobs in a place like Mariakani, a place like Mazeras, what does it mean? Insecurity. Insecurity. What does it mean? What does it mean for them? Because I think it's coming late, but it's not more than.
GK. Proceed.
To take this opportunity is a very important motion. Honorable Speaker, and it is a tool, Honorable Speaker, for our women and our youth to grow and to access education, to access health care, better health care, and to access the living standards of the people of the both countries, that is United States and Kenya. Specifically of the American opportunities of trade with the American government, we stand to grow at a better rate where the human life of our country stands to live a good life, and when we have a good life here, Honorable Speaker, we don't have to send our people to United States. Our people will not be keen to travel to the United States for better opportunities. AGOA will have availed to us that opportunity. Another country, better respect, will have better respect for each other, and our people, that is not as opportunists in any way. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to support. We'll consider, if not for any other reason, our women and our children who derive their livelihood from this very good pact. Thank you.
The Honorable Murugara, followed by the MP Fondiwa. Proceed, Murugara.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to also voice my support for this particular motion, a very important motion. And thank you, Honorable Jane Kagiri, the woman member of parliament for Laikipia. I echo the sentiments of Honorable KJ regarding the people of Laikipia and exactly what they find in their member of parliament, especially in terms of quality of what is brought to this house, including this particular motion, urging two states to extend an agreement which, in our view, is extremely beneficial to the people of Kenya and also to the people of America, the United States of America. The agreement is actually bilateral in as much as it also touches sub-Saharan countries in Africa. Usually the sub-Saharan countries are what are termed as third world countries or undeveloped countries. And sometimes when they want to be pleasant to us, they say we are developing. But for sure, the categorization is that we are undeveloped. Therefore, we need much of this so that we are also able to start moving towards where the other nations of the world are. It is very, very important that this agreement is taken care of. It's an agreement that has in its execution. AGOA found in Nairobi and possibly other major cities, which zones we now plead that if there is, so that we are also able to see some of the works that fall under AGOA going to the rural areas, and especially agricultural produce. We know very well there is a lot that we produce here, which is of import that particular produce. And if there is anything that is to be imported from America, which is of great use to the people in the rural areas, then again, we should also be beneficiaries just like the city dwellers. We know for ICT, it's important. have to benefit from equipment that is going to come from the American. For people employed under AGOA, in fact, this is people in the agricultural sector. In the economic zones, some of them are free economic zones, we have over 66,000 Kenyans working here. Labor force is actually women. And if it is women, these become the direct beneficiaries of this agreement, and the incomes derived therefrom, as you very well know, are used in such important matters in our country, such as education, support, health care, and poverty alleviation. And this is where it's always said that ladies are able to plan for their monies better than men. I usually don't buy to that, but sometimes there may be credence in what is being said in this motion, and I would want for once to swim along with this proposition that if 75% of the beneficiaries, direct beneficiaries of AGOA are women, then that income is actually vital for the building of the economy of the country and also for sustaining our livelihoods and alleviating poverty in the country. It's important that we also acknowledge that for the Americans, it's important we have this bilateral agreement coming along so that we continue to strengthen the relations between the two countries. We know for sure that there is a great imbalance of trade between America and Kenya, purely because the economies are miles apart. But that imbalance, however big it is, may also be of great benefit to us, because we have to have an economy being sustained, and that sustenance would not be coming from anywhere else. Pro agreements such as this one, which promote production, which promote manufacturing, and also promote export of goods. And therefore, today, as we speak, I'm sorry that we have only 6 days to go. But this is good enough time for there to be either interim measures or to conclude a full agreement extension. And here we are asking for 16 years or 15 years, whatever number. And if there is no extension, then we can have a transition clause negotiated as quickly as it can be, so that we have 2 years to develop a trade agreement or a trade deal between America and Kenya. It's important because we should not allow that vacuum to ever set in, because we shall now be looking, I don't know to where. Sometimes they tell us, look to the east, you may be able to find better friends. From there, we do not know. But also, instead of looking east, let's look so that we get other agreements which are as good as the AGOA agreement. Once this is in place, we have all these partners coming in to trade with us, coming in over to set industries, and also we import to them what we locally produce here, and all this is for the advantage and the benefit of our country. And as we do this, we have said that let's also look at what we have, including the proposals we had yesterday, that we may have some certain entities in this country which would be better off when they are in the hands of private investors instead of being in the hands of government, where they are non-performing, where they are loss-making, where there is nothing much to point to apart from miserable profits. While if these are actually put in the hands of private investors, then the country stands to reap big. Not in anything else. National airport, I look at it and ask, what is international? You are in Dubai, you are in Qatar, Amsterdam, or anywhere else. It's the high time we as Kenyans started thinking big, not small. We must also move away from the cocoon that we are undeveloped, and somebody else is going to come from out there to develop us. We are the only ones who can actually develop ourselves by putting into place measures. And I commend the government, because an attempt is actually being made to move away to have what is called a paradigm shift, so that we move away from the old traditional ways of doing things to saying we must bite the bullet and we must start thinking forward, so that in another 50 years, there is no reason whatsoever why our country should not join the league of Ng-Cdf, and we actually approve this motion, and we urge our government to move the speed and ensure that either the AGOA agreement is extended for another 16 years, or whatever number of years the countries bilaterally agree, or it's got a transition clause of 2 years, and then we can engage the Americans to ensure that in place there is no interregnum, there is no vacuum. It is business as usual. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support.
MP Fondiwa, followed by Omar Mwinyi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Very important motion. As well the benefits in the way Ng-Cdf has articulated. Therefore, I will not belabor much on the benefits. Has about 5 aspects. Aspect number 1, which is very important and critical, is the issue of duty-free access. You can imagine if our goods are subjected to tariff the way it is, we cannot make a move. The other aspect, which is very important, is promotion of trade. Right now, we have trade imbalance with AGOA, but it's reduced to about $57 million. How about if AGOA was not there? Those trade imbalances brings trade deficiency. The other aspect which is important is bilateral trade. Now, we may see the benefit that AGOA brings as jobs, yes, promotion of local industries, EZ, but I had a chance to live there in the US. And what is very important to Kenyans is to get access to the Kenyans' goods, whether it is textile or food, whatever it is. So as we benefit here, there is also dignity of consumption out there. And as they consume, they also participate in bringing back hard currency here. So it's a win-win situation, which is a very good thing for us. AGOA expanded trade. It's also created jobs, as was said here, and women are the beneficiaries. Sir George, if you doubt, women are best managers of money. In fact, the best moving banks in this world as we speak. So please live with that. It's a reality. Also, the support. Speaker, I think this we may take seriously. I have the chair of trade next to me here, my friend Shinali. How come we did not have a ZISA to monitor when these agreements, these acts we make in this house are about to lapse, so that Ng-Cdf just catches when it's about 6 days to? Can we have a sensor that checks all our bilateral, especially trade-related acts which we make here, to follow them when they want to expire, if they're not doing well, amendments and all that? So maybe my friend, the reduction of part of these jobs we have said is very important. Negative to the humans are at stake here. What I'm not sure, Honorable Ng-Cdf, and urban areas and enjoying the EPZ, we are sure of uplifting the livelihood of Kenyans in those areas. Long time ago, Honorable Speaker, the whites were here, and where they were settling were the urban areas. Well-fetched thought and should be supported. So I sit down to say thank you, Ng-Cdf. This is wonderful, and I urge my colleagues, please support this, and let's say less.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia fursa hii pia niweze kuchangia katika mswada huu ambao ni muhimu sana na umekuja katika wakati ambao ni mwafaka. Ama muda wa hii biashara na taifa la Amerika kwa mpango wa AGOA. Mheshimiwa Spika, mswada huu umekuja, tutasema umechelewa, lakini wazungu wanasema better late than never. Na kusema kweli, hii biashara ya AGOA, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni biashara ambayo imeweza kusaidia pakubwa sana katika kuwapatia jamii at least hope ama tamaa ya kuwa bado wanaweza kuishi na kuweza kuendeleza jamii pamoja na kufanya mambo ambayo watu wengine wanafanya japo kwa uchache. Tukumbuke zamani, Mheshimiwa Spika, katika eneo langu la Changamwe tulikuwa na viwanda vingi sana. Kimoja kilikuwa kinatengeza viberiti, kulikuwa na Kenya Rayon wanatengeza towels, kulikuwa na viwanda vingi sana. Kwa bahati mbaya tulivifunga viwanja vyote hivi, na baadaye hii biashara ya AGOA ikaleta tena kuregesha kwa viwanda. Na ukweli kuna economy ilikuwa inaitwa kadogo economy. Kadogo economy, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni uchumi ambao ulikuwa hawa wafanyikazi wa EPZ kwa mfano, Mheshimiwa Spika, na pesa zao zilivyokuwa ni kidogo, lakini wakaweza kuendeleza maisha yao kulingana na yale mapato ambao walikuwa wanapata. Hata ikaja yule unga mdogo, kama unakumbuka Mheshimiwa Spika, wa kilo moja, ili ambaye anafanya kazi aweze kununua, na ikaenda namna hiyo, watu wakawa wanaishi. Biashara nyingi ziliweza kufunguka, Mheshimiwa Spika. Biashara za mitumba, kwa sababu hizo nguo ni nafuu. Biashara za manyumba ya kupangisha zikaweza pia vile vile kufunguka. Watoto wakaweza kuingia mashule, wazazi wakaweza kuendesha familia zao, na kwa hakika furaha ikaingia ndani ya majumba mengi. Na swala hili lilileta tetesi katika viwanda, ambapo watu wakawa wanahofu ya kwamba huenda pengine wakakosa ajira. Na usisahau Mheshimiwa Spika, kuja kwa mpango huu wa AGOA, mbali na kuwa uliweza kuzalisha nafasi za kazi, kulitokea pia vile vile na nafasi nyingi pia vile vile kama vyama vya wafanyikazi. Hii pia ilikuwa inaongeza ajira. Kukawa na kampuni za meli ambao zinasafirisha hii bidhaa kutoka kule nje na kuleta hapa, na kutoka hapa mali ambayo imemalizika kutengenezwa kupelekwa zile sehemu ambazo kwa zinaenda. Sasa hapo katikati kuna biashara nyingi sana zikaweza kustawi kwa sababu ya mpango huu wa AGOA. Mheshimiwa Spika, waendelea wale wawekezaji wengine wao wameanza kuonyesha dalili kama ambao wanahama, kwa kuwa wanakazi wao ni katika hivi viwanda kwa wakati huu tunavyozungumza, kwa sababu wamefanya kazi kwa miaka mingi, hawana hakika, pengine hawatalipa hata pesa zao za miaka na mambo kama haya. Kama alivyozungumza mheshimiwa, nchi marafiki kungekuwako na vipengele vya kulinda yani haki zetu, hata kama sisi ni nchi maskini. Itakuwa sawa kuwa mtu aweze kuamua tu wakati mmoja kuwa ikifika tarehe watu katika sekta mbalimbali za kiuchumi, na pia vile vile isitukatikie kwa ghafla kama hivi ambavyo tunaona. Mheshimiwa, elimu, wengi katika hii biashara ama wanaofanyikazi huko wamesomesha watoto wao mpaka katika universities, na hii pesa kidogo ambao wanapata hapa, wateja wazuri wa pesa pia vile vile wanaweza kusomesha watoto wao mpaka wakafika. Napenda kuwasifu wanawake kwa sababu kusema kweli bila wao hili taifa letu na mataifa mengi hayawezi kustawi, sababu wao ndio wanaozuia uchumi wa nchi yetu na nchi nyingi pia vile vile. Katika viwanda hivi, Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna pia timu za michezo kama timu za football, timu za volleyball na timu za michezo mingine ambayo inasapotiwa na hivi viwanda. Hata wengine wameajiriwa kwa sababu wao ni wachezaji wazuri wa mchezo kama kandanda, mchezo kama volleyball, wameweza kupata kazi na hizi kampuni ambazo leo zina hatari kuwa pengine ziweze kufungwa. Kwa hivyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, tutaomba waheshimiwa wote ambao hawajalizungumzia swala hili waweze kuliunga mkono na kuishindikiza serikali pia vile vile waweze kujadiliana nchi husika ambayo ni Marekani, watuangalie kwa jicho la huruma, kwa sababu wakati tunaoishi ni wakati mgumu sana, ambapo ajira ni tatizo kubwa sana, na lau tutaweza kufunga hii biashara ambayo tuizungumzia ya AGOA, basi itasababisha maafa makubwa ambayo yatamwathiri kila mwananchi wa Kenya, si ati wale ambao wafanya kazi peke yao. Twaomba serikali yetu kupitia rais wetu waweze kuliomba taifa la Marekani ili waweze kurefusha huu mkataba usonge mbele na itiliwe namna ambayo itadhibitiwa, isilete mtafaruku kwa wakati wote ambao tutakuwa twafanya shughuli hizi. Na vile vile tuangalie wakati tunapokuwa tunapata pengine muda ambao tumeongezewa, vipi tutaleta shughuli zingine ambazo zitasaidia hawa ambao wameajiriwa saa hii, ili wakati ukifika wao hawatahangaika sana. Mheshimiwa Spika, nazungumza hivi kwa sababu Changamwe inategemea sana, pamoja na Jomvu, hii mambo ya EPZ, pamoja na Mtwapa, pamoja na sehemu za Athi River. Mheshimiwa Spika, Athi River imekuwa kwa sababu ya biashara kama hizi. So nafikiria athari yake ni kubwa, na wabunge wenzetu hapa ambako hapa na wengine wako nje wataliunga mkono swala hili, na tumpongeze tena Mheshimiwa Kagiri kwa kuweza kulileta swala hili katika jumba hili la mjadala. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia fursa hii.
The Honorable MP for Nyeri Town.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise from the onset to support this motion by the Honorable Ng-Cdf. Mr. Speaker, besides being the Member of Parliament for Nyeri Town constituency, I'm also the chair parliamentary. Mr. Speaker, the key export earners in this country, supporting a huge community across the central region, Rift Valley, into Nyanza and Western Province, not to mention Machakos and Makueni. Honorable Speaker, the U.S., as per the data released by the Agricultural and Food Authority for the coffee year ended 2023-2024, which ended in September last year, the U.S. was the second highest importer or destination of Kenyan coffee after Belgium, importing approximately 8,000 metric tons and earning the Kenyan coffee farmer the equivalent of Kenya shillings 6.7 billion. Mr. Speaker, when we speak about coffee, the American destination for Kenyan coffee is the high-end specialty. And Mr. Speaker, coffee in this is produced largely by small-scale coffee farmers who have come together in the form of cooperatives. A disruption of the AGOA trade agreement would mean a catastrophic reduction in the earnings of the ordinary people in my constituency, in Nyeri County, in the entire central region, in the entire east, in Kericho, in Nandi, in Uasin Gishu, in Bungoma, in Mount Elgon, in Kisii, in Homa Bay, in Machakos, opportunities nation. Mr. Speaker, let me also speak for the taste of the American people who enjoy the Kenyan cup of coffee. A disruption of this agreement would actually also highly affect the costs that the American coffee lover would pay for not only Kenyan coffee, but coffee from the African region. Mr. Speaker, the thrust by our government in establishing the county aggregation and industrial parks was meant to attract exporters and multinationals into the counties so that we can grow economies in the rural areas and disaggregated from the big cities. When you look at the investment of around 500 million times 47 counties, you begin to see the kind of disruption then and even the kind of loss we would suffer as a country should this very vital trade agreement that supports the agricultural sector where the majority of Kenyans are earning a living would have. And therefore, I want to urge our president to take advantage of the United Nations General Assembly and his presence in Washington to ensure that he has had a very fruitful engagement with the American people and the American government for the extension of this lifeline for our economy. Mr. Speaker, we have had the labor export policy, and when we have listened to our young people, they have kept saying, create jobs for us. Even here in our own country, we want to contribute. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, there is a lot of urgency in ensuring that to be, in the light of the remainder, or an extension that allows us to renegotiate, taking care of the interests of both the already have in the EPZs and in the supply chain that supply goods and raw materials that have been given the preferential American market access, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I therefore urge that all of us need to, with one vote, this motion by the Honorable Ng-Cdf, and urge all the supporters of our country, including in the Americans, and including Kenyans who have settled in America, the diaspora, to add their voice in urging our two governments to renew this agreement. I support, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Omboko Melemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And thank you, the Honorable Ng-Cdf, for a very well, just highlighting also to the country that this is an agreement that we needed to have secured much earlier, but we are coming a little bit very fair because when it comes to international relations, there are many pegs that can be pulled and cards that can be pulled to not only safeguard AGOA transitionally, like you put it, and then have a proper law within the U.S. legislature to extend. Like it was earlier very well moved by the move of the motion, and the seconder, this was a scheme and it was a model crafted to try and reduce the imbalance of trade between America and the African states, which are about 32, Kenya being the fourth biggest benefit of this agreement, so that there would be an activity. And if this activity even is not necessarily reducing the imbalance of trade, like of course it's about 2% only of what we may be benefiting out of this, but in terms of the multiplier effect of what we get on the ground, it's massive, because the jobs that have been created by these institutions and the EPZs, the investment of the labor within these sections, which the investors are putting in, and the general social, communal and support, because left alone, the people who are unemployed can also become a problem to the social fabric of the nation. And therefore, the economic development really is occurring, and the benefits of AGOA cannot be gainsaid. And therefore, we really need it, and we as parliamentarians, though looking like we are late, we are not late. We are still appealing to the US leadership and the president, but also the legislature, to extend this period. I noticed that we need to also understand that the 16-year extension period to 2041 was an attempt by a US legislator by the name John Rich, who 23, they're about 2024, to actually move a bill or a motion within the US legislature so that this extension could be realized. And this was under administration. And Biden did not do so much, despite the fact Democrat and expectations for Africa whenever Democrats are in power are very high, did not do anything about this. And I remember vividly that even his ambassador in Kenya did indicate that AGOA was not part of the US administrative agenda then. And therefore, all these things are interconnected, and they require the earlier arrangements that we were talking about earlier on in terms of the ambassadors, high commissions we have in nations, to actually be speaking on these things so that they are time-bound and we engage with them timely. And therefore, I think it is a matter that requires a lot of support from the to leave out what my leading speaker has just spoken on, that the presence of the President Ruto in the US at the UN assemblies could provide a forum on the sidelines where he could also speak to the Trump administrators and also mop up the legislators within the US to safeguard AGOA and even create a transition period which will actually secure our benefits. But it's also quite disappointing that also when other Kenyans do visit the US, even for a very long time, they don't see this opportunity. The main export is actually coffee, the way my preceding speaker has actually talked about it. But we have leaders who go to the US, instead of speaking about coffee, they end up speaking about the embargoes that should be hit on Kenya. And therefore wasting opportunities that otherwise would have really benefited this country if they were to be loyal and quite patriotic to this country. Coffee is thoroughly affected, agricultural products, textile, and the apparel industry is thoroughly affected by this AGOA. I also think we must now open up beyond AGOA because we cannot, because it is something that is also being affected by the world trading arrangements, because the WTO, which negotiates most of the agreements of trade and allows free trade between countries worldwide, understand that the changing, having joined the WTO, was a real change and a real time changer for AGOA, because most of the products that were coming from Africa were now facing stiff competition from the Chinese, and has actually reduced the benefits that and the excitement possibly of the Americans to the AGOA agreement. And that notwithstanding, therefore, we have to look beyond AGOA to see to it that we can also create other preferential trade areas. And there's been an attempt to actually create the African Continental Free Trade Area, which could then also allow these goods to go to that market. Because after all, the population, in terms of population, the African population is very good. But in terms of resourcefulness, the purchasing power, this is where we are weak. And therefore, through the WTO, we could still negotiate even a better deal beyond AGOA as we safeguard AGOA moving forward. And therefore, we as African states must look beyond AGOA and see that in the event we are not getting this agreement extended or safeguarded, what else can be done? What are the potentials within Africa itself in terms of the market, in terms of the labor? Because why China came out strongly to compete African exports to America under AGOA was because they were actually practicing a more easier production model, and the labor was cheap, and therefore their goods were also cheaper as compared to the ones from Africa. Therefore, we have a chance to amend this, and we have to appeal to the US to actually safeguard AGOA, because it is part and parcel of our development plans here in terms of creating centers that can actually add value addition to our products, and who are depending on the exports to these markets. Honorable Speaker, I think this was a very, very good motion, moved very well by the mover, Jane Kagiri, and we are not late. This can still be done, and therefore I beg to support. Thank you.
The Honorable Shinali, followed by Omenya. Catherine.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to support the motion on ACOA by Jane Kagiri, and wish to congratulate her for bringing this motion so that the world can hear us and members can contribute to it. As you may be aware, the African Growth and Opportunity Act is set to expire on 30th September 2025, with the efforts underway to extend for an additional 16 years until 2041. Mr. Speaker, I take note that from the onset, eligibility to participate in ACOA is based on each sub-Saharan country's progress in establishing market-based economy, which Kenya has really worked hard, and implementing the rule of law. Since inception in 2002, Kenya has made tremendous efforts and strides by making sure that we have law in place, including the 2010 Constitution. Cutting corruption. Mr. Speaker, you are aware that as Kenya, we brought in ethics and anti-corruption law, and the president himself has been on forefront, including attacking this house to make sure that Kenya is a corrupt-free country, and devising policies to reduce poverty, which we have really improved in poverty index up to now. Subject to this criteria, the decision to authorize each sub-Saharan country's utilization of ACOA preference is at the discretion of the US President himself every year, Your Speaker. Since its inception, over 40 sub-Saharan African countries, including Kenya, have qualified for AGOA with annual variations. Mr. Speaker, as of 2024, 39 sub-Saharan Africans were designated beneficiaries. The legislation was initially approved for 8 years, but has since been extended to 2025 through series of extension. And it's a process, honorable members, which is going on. We were given the last and final extension, but efforts are underway, led by His Excellency the President himself, to make sure we get a renewal, because ACOA to us is very important. The last one being through MCA Modernization Act, enacted in June 2020. Mr. Speaker, since its enactment in 2002, ACOA has been a crucial trade and development initiative, offering preferential access to qualified sub-Saharan African countries to the United States market. The preferential treatment included reduced tariffs and export tariffs for member states, AGOA has positively affected regions' trade, particularly in apparels, textiles, artifacts. The famous Ushanga initiative has benefited a lot, which is dominated by Kenyan women, Mr. Speaker. Even in areas we didn't imagine that we would be having this initiative work. In Masailand, in Coast, in Rift Valley, we have had this as a success, and we are able to see our products in the US market. Mr. Speaker, you may agree, undeniably provided increased trade and investment opportunities in sub-Saharan African countries. Its impact on the economy and development of beneficiary nations has been positive, although challenges such as trade, diversification, and poverty reductions has been persistent, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as the Act moves forward, addressing these challenges and identifying new avenues for economic growth, be crucial to ensuring its continued success in fostering economic development in sub-Saharan Africa. It is noteworthy that there have been deliberate efforts to address these challenges by both the United States beneficiaries and relevant stakeholders. I therefore have no doubt and wish to assure members and Kenyans that there lie more opportunities for prosperity than challenges for sub-Saharan African countries, including Kenya, in support of extension of AGOA, which we all agree and ask members that this is a very important act that we really need to, and agreement that we really need to extend with America. Mr. Speaker, finally, I wish to undertake that the Departmental Committee on Trade and Cooperative is following up with the relevant ministry and State Department to make sure that the negotiations and submissions of the relevant documentation action is by the House agreeing with the relevant Speaker, and in the near future I'll be briefing the House to how far and we have reached with the extension, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Catherine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this motion that was brought by Honorable Ng-Cdf about AGOA. Most African countries will suffer if it stopped. Kenya is one of them, and we would love an extension so we don't lose what we have been trying to achieve while putting our house in order. Doing business through this arrangement has made it easier for our women to do a lot, expanding and sustaining their livelihood without being looked as actually a third world nation. I know of some women who have been doing business for quite some time, and you would rarely think that they were born and raised in Kenya. So talking of it being coming to an end in 6 days to come is announcing catastrophe, because many youths, many women will lose their jobs. And yet, at the moment, with such an economy, we wouldn't be talking of reducing, but expanding or sustaining. So we plead with our giant country, USA, to continue being kind and compatible, because as we speak now, many of our women are now plunging into planting coffee, cotton, especially where I come from in Busia. And they have gone into planting cotton because there is hope. They've been told that the market is there. And USA being among the largest consumer of coffee, I would imagine what will happen if a farmer like that will be told that it is stopping soon, the market is being blocked soon, or it is ending soon. They'll be so demoralized. So we plead with the two governments to have an atete to just extend, because we need this to go on. A country like Kenya that is growing, it can be progressive, yes, achieving many other things that maybe a developed nation they are engaged in trade with needs. And this means that even if we took 10, 20 years or 30 years, but achieving what is needed, like putting the law in place that safeguards both partner in trade, and also achieving things like reducing corruption and reducing also tariffs that are leveled or put on commodities, and practicing fair trade. These are things that we learn progressively. It is not like a one-day thing. So looking at how Kenya has done its thing in trade, I think we have achieved a lot, and we want to be seen as people who can continue also holding other nations, as we are healed as well, to coexist. So this news of our engagement or agreement ending soon has shocked me. I just want to hear of extension, if there can be a sitting very soon. A day in any nation it can be like a year. So they can just sit and agree that indeed we were catching up, we were having, and we still need this kind of agreement to go on. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Deputy Majority Leader, Owen Baya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to congratulate the gracious lady, the Honorable Kagiri, for bringing this motion, Honorable Speaker, on the extension of the term of the African Growth and Opportunities Act. This act, Honorable Speaker, that was conceived in the year 2000, was a very important piece of legislation, important, very progressive piece of legislation that came into force between Africa and the United States. Honorable Speaker, the genesis of which was, like Mwai Kibaki used to say, bring us foreign direct investment for us to grow our countries instead of you bringing us foreign aid. So from that perspective, Honorable Speaker, you realize that Africa needed more investment. But the question that lingered on investments, and we start producing, where is the market? And the Americans said, the market is here. And that is why Africa was tasked with the opportunity to grow and produce. And then the market was in the United States, where we were exercising a duty-free access to their market, Honorable Speaker. And that is the genesis. And there was a beautiful thought. And Africa, Honorable Speaker, including Kenya, has tremendously benefited from AGOA. Today, Honorable Speaker, if you walk in the streets from Mtwapa, Kilifi County, Kambala, Western Sea, you see for yourself in the morning. For example, if you're driving from Kilifi to Mombasa in the morning, around between 6 and 9, you see the number of young people that were Honorable Speaker. Then you realize that AGOA is working people. But in a short while, Honorable Speaker, you see they have all disappeared. Where have they gone to? They've gone into those factories, Honorable Speaker. What happens in those factories, Honorable Speaker? I've had an opportunity to get into those factories inside. And what you see there, Honorable Speaker, is a lot of work. What you'd call a shop floor, where this one casts this one casts this part, this one needs this. And you see in 5 minutes, one pair of jeans is done. 2 minutes, like 20 pair of jeans are done. But the question is, where do they go? They're all packed and exported to the United States.
jobs created, Honorable Speaker. So when we come to a situation, my Speaker, where you are told this is coming to an end, we are left flabbergasted, my Speaker. Why would this kind of program end? And when it ends, where do these people go? And when it ends, where will all this machinery go? When it ends, my Speaker, where will we get all this money that is generated from here, Honorable Speaker? So, AGOA is one of those progressive, it is one of those pieces of legislation that came to Kenya and many other African countries, Honorable, to rescue young people who would otherwise have been jobless, to rescue economies that would have been wrecked by donor aid and donor funds and donor conditionalities, Honorable Speaker. AGOA came, Honorable Speaker, to spur economic growth. And that is why when the Honorable Ng-Cdf talks about AGOA and says it's time we extended this treaty, Honorable Speaker, I support it because I know what it can do to our economy. Honorable Speaker, today from Kikambala coming down to Kilifi, we are also looking for an opportunity to extend and have more EPZ, because EPZ, Honorable Speaker, and this is very important, and the Chairman of Trade is here, the Honorable Shinali. You see, EPZ is actually anchored on AGOA. Without AGOA, we will not have EPZ. Or EPZ will just be doing very little. Because a lot of the companies in the EPZ realm are beneficiaries of AGOA. The other day, Honorable Speaker, the President came to Vipingo and launched the SEZ, the Special Economic Zone. The President was there in Vipingo and launched the first special economic zone in that area. A huge $500 billion investment that will come. But where will these goods go? And one of the things that talking about is into fabric and textile. If you launch that kind of thing, Honorable Speaker, where will you sell those things? Honorable Speaker, the President has come to the coast and talked and actually has done a lot of infrastructure development for Dongokundu. Dongokundu, Honorable Speaker. That has been in the minds of many people for many years. Many presidents have come in and spoken about Dongokundu. President William Ruto is actualizing Dongokundu, SEZ, Honorable Speaker. But without AGOA, how beneficial will be our SEZ, Honorable Speaker? That is why this AGOA is very, very important. I have seen there's another SEZ that is coming up in Naivasha, and which is part of the Arise group of companies, Arise, which is coming to invest billions and billions of dollars into the country. But my Speaker, the question that I have is, without AGOA, how will we benefit from the special economic zones? How will we benefit from the huge investments that we have today, Honorable Speaker? That is why it is very important for us to anchor AGOA again in law and extend it to 2046 so that we can continue to benefit and continue to create jobs. The African Continental Free Trade Area, Honorable Speaker, is also anchored on AGOA. As we want to produce as Africa, as we want to produce, and there's a lot of raw materials, cotton, for example, grown here, and a lot of things that we can do, Honorable Speaker. How do we actually ensure sustainability of the African Continent Free Trade Area, Honorable Speaker, without AGOA? How will the Port of Mombasa continue to rise into the TUs, Honorable Speaker, if we do not have AGOA? That's how important it is. The Port of Mombasa, Honorable Speaker, right now is one of the key anchors of AGOA and key anchors of the economy, because it is able to take. Today, if you cut AGOA, the number of containers at the port that are leaving this country will go down. Balance of trade, Honorable Speaker, will treat the other side if we kill AGOA. So it is very important naturally, and that is why when I saw this thing coming up, and when I saw that it is the Honorable gracious lady from Laikipia, Ng-Cdf, who believes it is Laikipia time, bring up this matter, I asked myself, where has the ministry been? Do they understand how important this matter is? Why haven't they been proactive until it takes to bring this matter on the floor of the House? This is something that the state, this is something that the Ministry of Investment and Trade should have taken up. They should have been proactive. But you see, it has been left to Parliament, to a member of Parliament, the member of Parliament for Laikipia County, Honorable Speaker, the gracious lady Jane Kagiri, to come and want to rescue this very important. We support you, Jane, and we support this motion, and we support AGOA, and this we must do. Not just a motion, but I would like to see the act here, where the United States also extended. And I know we have had a lot of discussions, but these discussions, Honorable Speaker, in the 12th Parliament, we talked about it. When are they going to conclude the discussions between Kenya or Africa and AGOA? And the Americans on the issue of AGOA? When are they going to conclude? He said, the Honorable Manyiri Mwinyi said, the MP for Changamwe said, people are anxious. They do not know whether these companies are going to close. I can imagine today, if these companies close, Honorable Speaker, the many young people in Kilifi, where will they go? The people in Changamwe, where will they go? The people in Naivasha, where will they go? Those that work in the EPZ, Honorable Speaker. So this, for me, is an important piece of legislation that we should drop everything else, work on AGOA, make it work, make it succeed, get the agreement signed, and we move on as a nation. I thank you and I support.
Followed by the Honorable Kirima Moses.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. From onset, I want to support this motion that was brought by the Honorable Jane Kagiri. It has come on time, although a little bit late. I want to thank Honorable Jane. She's a brave girl who immediately saw the delay that maybe as a country we were going to lose, remaining only 6 days to go. Jane, thank you very much for your braveness and continue. And you love your country, because even us, we did not see. We thought that maybe the ministry had done its work, but we want to thank you. Honorable Speaker, as a country, Kenya needs to grow in many aspects, economically. Honorable Speaker, Kenya is a young developing country, given support like other countries, Honorable Speaker, in Southern Sahara African countries, Kenya being one of them, Honorable Speaker. I think we are on the right track at this time. What we need as a country, Honorable Speaker, is peace, so that we continue developing our country. Honorable Speaker, Kenya is a hub of the world. Honorable Speaker, if we can continue having peace, Honorable Speaker, our country is also important in the world. Honorable Speaker, recently we visited Spain together with the Honorable Jane Kagiri. And what our ambassador told us when we were in Spain, Honorable Speaker, was that Kenya is almost the main exporter Kenya was the main exporter of avocado, and in Spain they use Kenyan avocado mostly, and they wanted at least Kenya to add, to increase the volume, the tonnage of avocado, Mr. Speaker. It is known, we sent Honorable Kagiri when we came back to go to send a message to His Excellency the President about it. Although we went for recess, we've not again met until today, Honorable Speaker. But we are proud, let's be proud of our country and put our country first, Honorable Speaker. For the future of our children, Honorable Speaker, if the economy can improve the way it is going on. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I'm one of the cotton farmer, Honorable Speaker, although We used to have the Malakisi Malaba go, but we are still farming. At least my constituency is taking 150 tons of cotton to Rivertex. So, Honorable Speaker, and that is trying to build the economy of the country and also to make sure that our farmers also get money into their pocket. We want to make sure that we also develop like any other countries, Honorable Speaker. You see, like now, the food in this country, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to address this important issue, which pertains our country and America. Mr. Speaker, sir, first and foremost, I engage this act promoting growth of money in response with the Kenyan government in a number of issues, up to and including trade. And as for that, it's really a big plus if we have this act extended. We have farmers, especially who have been growing cotton. Care of the children who are in school. For see, a number of men these days, they endanger things like in drinking and so on. These women are the ones who tend to children going to school. So a period of having this act extended, and I pray that the government finish extended to the.
We are saying that it is our prayer, and I want to join other members, ex-Kenyan, many countries. Kenya, being an agricultural country, is one of the countries that is benefiting immensely to extension officers to change the feeling that they had before that coffee now are engaging in coffee production. And by this one is not extended. The African countries that are listed in the AGOA protocols, so that maybe through negotiations, through bilateral talks, this kind of
2025, Mr. Speaker. AGOA is more than just what we say. It's just beyond a trade agreement. It is a platform, Mr. Speaker, of shared growth, mutual respect, and sustainable development, Mr. Speaker. And when you look at it, when we started AGOA, how we perceived at that time the U.S., and to advance the economy growth and culture. When we talk about this, and as when we look at China, the advancement we have from the U.S. negotiate and have a good agreement that the consistency that has been there, so that to maintain eligibility and attract investors. What our third president did, the late Kibaki,